Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Honest Football Talk, where I, Thomas Swelling, give you guys my honest take on everything going on in the NFL world today. And my goodness, guys, did we have ourselves a crazy week this past week in the NFL? Lots of crazy news to get into, and with that, let's go ahead and get started with our episode for today. And with this episode, I figured we'd go ahead and talk about some of my biggest takeaways from the NFL from last week. And one of the biggest takeaways that I definitely took away from last week, and I'm sure everyone else did as well, is Robert Saleh is not the problem for the New York Jets right now. It's crazy to me that the New York Jets decided to go ahead and fire Robert Saleh this early into the season. I mean, we're talking 5 weeks in. This is very unprecedented for NFL franchises to just fire their head coach this early into the season. Like there's still a lot of football left. There's still a lot of time for the New York Jets to turn things around, and very, very surprising that they went ahead and decided to fire Robert Saleh. They decided to bring in, I believe his name is Jeff Ulbrich. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He was the defensive coordinator for the New York Jets, but is now going to be their interim head coach to take over for Robert Saleh and go ahead and take over the duties that Robert Saleh had as head coach. Going to be really, really crazy to see, how things pan out here for the Jets. Apparently, there was a lot of speculation that Robert Saleh was in talks of firing Nathaniel Hackett, who is their current offensive coordinator. Now, if you guys have been keeping up with any sort of the drama that's been going on with Nathaniel Hackett throughout the years. He was originally with the Green Bay Packers when Aaron Rodgers had one of his best years. I believe it was one of his MVP years. He had Nathaniel Hackett as his primary play caller. Him and Nathaniel Hackett are super, super close, so it only made sense for the Jets to end up hiring Nathaniel Hackett for Aaron Rodgers in the long run, but what ended up happening, Nathaniel Hackett ended up leaving Green Bay Packers way back in the day for a head coaching job for the Denver Broncos because of how well Nathaniel Hackett did with Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos thought, why don't we take a chance on that, see if we can get that kind of success with Nathaniel Hackett. They had just recently traded for Russell Wilson. There was a lot of positive vibes for the Denver Broncos at this time, and unfortunately it did not work out. Nathaniel Hackett wasn't able to get anything great out of Russell Wilson and get him back in his MVP form. It looked to be a complete dumpster fire, and they ended up firing Nathaniel Hackett pretty early on. A lot of mishandling of just play calling in general. Nathaniel Hackett seemed to have had issues with clock management. That seemed to be a big part of him struggling as a head coach when he was with Denver. So it made sense for Denver to let go of him when they did. Never would have expected Nathaniel Hackett to even, probably even get another coaching chance after the debacle that happened in Denver, but he did end up getting another chance here with the New York Jets, and now that especially with Aaron Rodgers going there, I think that enticed the Jets to go ahead and hire Nathaniel Hackett, and it seems that they're keeping Nathaniel Hackett just for the sake of pleasing Aaron Rodgers, not because it's best for the team, and I think that's going to be very, very detrimental going forward. I think, you got a whole locker room that you got to inspire, but, a full locker room full of guys to go out there and play, 4 quarters of football, and you got to let those guys know that your organization is here to win. They're not here to, dilly-dally. They're not here to just get a paycheck. They're here to actually see the promised land and get that Super Bowl win. So it makes sense that, when the organization makes these moves, that the players are skeptical. They want to be, 100% behind everything that the organization does. They want to understand why the organization is doing it. And for them to come up and fire Robert Saleh this early, I think is very detrimental to the team as a whole. I don't think this is going to help things. If anything, it's going to make things implode even faster, because I just see a lot more distrust going to be building within the locker room. You already see all these stories coming out about like who was behind actually firing Robert Saleh. Was it Aaron Rodgers? Did he have a say in this? Like a lot of crazy stories coming out from this, and I do not see it dying down anytime soon unless the Jets go on some crazy winning spree and win the next 10 games straight. I don't see this story going away anytime soon, so this is going to end up lingering with them all season long. Hopefully it doesn't bite them in the butt. but hopefully Woody Johnson made the right decision to go ahead and fire Robert Saleh. I don't think it was. I also think it's very distasteful to hear that he was apparently escorted out of the building. Like, why do you need to escort this individual out? Why don't you let him say his goodbyes to his players and his fellow coaches? Like, this is, I don't know. I don't like the way this was all handled. I'm sure more is going to come out on this as time goes on. We live in this social media world where it seems like everything gets out, nothing's private anymore, so we'll probably get the full details of this whole thing. There was some details of wondering how much is Aaron Rodgers involved with this firing. Personally, I think Aaron Rodgers definitely had to have some sort of say in it. Aaron Rodgers has come out and said that he has zero power in getting Robert Saleh fired, but I do not believe that one bit. There's, of course, if you look back in weeks past, there was that interaction between Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, where Aaron Rodgers was giving a push off on Robert Saleh when Robert Saleh was going in for a hug after a good play. It was clear from that gesture alone that there was some tension between the two. And then, as things started to unfold, as things started to go downhill for the Jets, you could see that that Aaron Rodgers was not happy on the sideline. There was clearly a disconnect between him and the head coach. And I just do not buy that Aaron Rodgers had zero say in this. Woody Johnson apparently called Aaron Rodgers before the firing of Robert Saleh. You can't tell me that within that conversation there was no discussion of it whatsoever. Aaron Rodgers can come out and say there was nothing in it, and I believe him to a sense that it might not have been the focus of the conversation, that it might have been more focused on his ankle injury, because that's what Aaron Rodgers has come out and said, that his conversation with Woody Johnson was more about his ankle injury than anything else, and I believe that. I believe that's probably what the main concern of the conversation was, but you can't tell me that Woody Johnson didn't bring up, how do you think or what do you think of Robert Saleh's coaching style right now? Do you think this is going to get us through to the end of the season? And I'm sure that whatever Aaron Rodgers said in that phone call was not a positive towards Robert Saleh, and definitely did not help in keeping Robert Saleh's job going forward. So as much as Aaron Rodgers wants to say he didn't have a role in this, I think he did. We might not ever know for sure, but I think the person that's your leader on the offense is getting paid the most money there in the organization. I think it only makes sense that he would have a say in all this. So if he wants to sit there and say that he doesn't, so it keeps the public eye off of him, or it keeps some of the publicity away from him. If that's going to help Aaron Rodgers focus more on football, all power to him. But hopefully he's able to pull this team around, because if they still end up failing even with this firing of Robert Saleh, it's not going to look good on Aaron Rodgers to just end up getting Robert Saleh fired, and even though it's not his fault, they're just trying to pin the blame on someone else. So we'll see how this turns out. I see this as being a big warning sign for all you Jets fans out there. You guys had a lot of hope going into the season. This is where you start pumping the brakes on those aspirations for getting into the Super Bowl. At least you guys might still have a good chance of making the postseason. I don't know if you're going to make it to the Super Bowl. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough with all the turmoil going on, but hey, if the Jets are able to overcome this adversity, hats off to them. It's going to be a heck of a story if they're able to do it. So, we'll see how this story continues to unfold as the season goes on. And with that, that's my first takeaway. My second biggest takeaway from last week's matchups is that I really think the Browns need to make a change at quarterback. Let's be real here. Now, granted, if you guys have been watching a lot of these Browns games, you can tell there's a lot of problems with the Browns in general. It's not just the quarterback position. It's not just change out Deshaun Watson and all of a sudden they're going to start lighting up the skies with whoever they put in there. Excuse me, that's not the case at all. There's a lot of problems with the Cleveland Browns right now. One of them being their offensive line. I mean, that offensive line is so bad. Deshaun Watson's getting sacked multiple times a game that it's becoming crazy to even see some of these numbers being put up by defenses just because of how bad the offensive line is for Cleveland. On top of that, Deshaun Watson doesn't do a good enough job of avoiding pressure. I feel like that Deshaun Watson feels that he's in a no-win situation, so when he gets back into the pocket, if he feels like he doesn't have a chance of making the play work, he's just going to either throw it away or take the sack immediately, and I think that's super detrimental to the team. I mean, it's not giving your team a lot of confidence that you're not trying to work out of this pressure and try to make a play, no matter what. It looks as though that a lot of the public word is getting to Deshaun Watson, a lot of that public outcry saying that, they need a new quarterback, that Deshaun Watson is the problem. And of course, it doesn't help all the craziness going on behind the scenes with Deshaun Watson as well. All of his, lawsuits and, him just not being the greatest person in the world, on top of being in this turmoil as a quarterback right now. It's hard to find any success in that. I mean, he's dealing with off-the-field issues as well as on-the-field issues. And when you put the two together, it's just causing a big explosion of stink. So, in all seriousness, though, I think the Browns definitely need to make a change at quarterback. This is the time now. Deshaun Watson is not going to get better. This isn't a situation that's going to get better over time, unless you get like some much better offensive lineman here and some crazy trade that they're able to pull off. But unless that happens, Deshaun Watson is just going to continue to struggle, and we're just going to continue to see this product being put on the field of why is Deshaun Watson still starting? Why don't they just go ahead and give Jameis Winston a shot? I mean, the whole locker room loves Jameis Winston. Some of his pregame speeches are just legendary. I mean, they're going to go down in the history books as some of the best speeches ever. And, just give him a chance. I mean, I at this point, I don't see what harm that Jameis Winston can go in there and do at this point. I mean, Deshaun Watson isn't going in there and playing winning football, so I feel like they got to give somebody else a chance here and give them a spark. Now, like I said, I don't think that the 100% of the blame goes on to Deshaun Watson. I do not think that. I think that there's definitely plenty of blame to go around on this team, but you can tell that this team is playing uninspired, that they're not playing with a lot of confidence, and they need a confidence booster. And what's the best way to boost some confidence? Let's make a change at quarterback. Let's get somebody in there that inspires confidence, who can go in there and lead a team down the field and, score a touchdown and, get the juices pumping. Jameis Winston is one of the best players you could have to inspire confidence in your player base. I mean, the dude is phenomenal at giving speeches, and, if he's able to go out there and put together a good drive down the field, I'm sure that's going to help inspire confidence in that team and make them want to play. It'll make everybody want to play at a much higher level, and, it might end up producing much better results on the field going forward. So that's my 2 cents on the Browns. I really do think they need to make a quarterback change, because if they do not, it's not going to be looking good going forward. I mean, I know that they want to try to make this situation look as good for the Browns as possible because they, gave up all these assets to trade for Deshaun Watson. You guys just need to accept it that, it was a failure. It was a failed trade. It was definitely the wrong decision to make. I understand that there was other teams that were fighting for him, and, it makes it look worse now that you guys were the winners in it all. But you just gotta own up to the loss. Say, made a mistake and move on. Hopefully that they realize that this season and not go the whole season this way, because I do think the Browns, if they played some more inspiring football, I think they'd have a chance. They have a good defense. I think their defense is phenomenal. Probably top 10 defense in the NFL right now. Could definitely be a contender type defense if they were able to get some sustainable drives going on offense. And I think that could really be helped with a change of quarterback. You change the quarterback, it could ignite a spark for the whole team, and end up going on a big winning spree that gets you to the playoffs. That's essentially what happened with Joe Flacco last year. Let's do it again with Jameis Winston. Why not? So we'll see what the Browns end up doing this year. I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on them. Very interested to see, how this quarterback battle ends up going throughout the rest of the year. If Deshaun Watson's going to make it to the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns end up making this change within the next couple weeks, because I do not believe that they can keep putting this product out on the field week in and week out. They're eventually going to realize that this is a mistake and make the change. But unfortunately, it's not happening this week. You're going to have to at least wait another week. So with that, that's everything I got on the Browns. Let's move on to my third biggest takeaway from last week in the NFL. And it's more quarterback news. I think this is very, very important, and that is the fact that the Colts probably should be starting Joe Flacco over Anthony Richardson going forward, regardless if Anthony Richardson's healthy. It's my biggest takeaway after watching the Colts these last few weeks. I mean, my goodness, anytime you watch that offense go out and produce with Anthony Richardson, it's always a 50-50% chance if they're going to end up having like a big play or if they're going to go 3 and out. Like, I feel like that's what it is with Anthony Richardson. Every time he's out there, you're either going to get a 50-60 yard bomb from him or you're going to go 3 and out. And I think that's a little more frustrating to watch as a fan. I mean, I love the big playability from Anthony Richardson, but his inconsistency is so bad that I strongly think that Joe Flacco would be the much better option going forward for the rest of the year. I mean, Joe Flacco is so much more consistent. Not only is he more consistent, he's just a better quarterback. The dude makes so much better football decisions out on the field when, making his reads on the defense. He makes much better reads than Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, he does have the mobile ability. He's able to run out of the pocket when things go bad, and that's something that Joe Flacco can't do, but Joe Flacco is so much smarter with his decision making, and not only is he much smarter, but he's much more accurate. And when he throws the ball to his target, it's going to give the target a good chance of catching the ball. It's not going to be this crazy overthrown ball where the receiver is going to have to make some crazy athletic ability to even have an attempt to make the catch. So I just feel like Joe Flacco is so much better. I know that it's not going to be good for the Colts because they want to develop Anthony Richardson. He's supposed to be their future, but when you're looking at this product on the field week in and week out, it's clear Joe Flacco is so much better just as a player. Like, it blows my mind that these organizations, they just have like this weird ego thing, and they're just like, yes, because I invested this draft capital in this guy, I have to keep them out on the field. They must succeed. And it's like, dude, just because you invested the draft capital in them doesn't mean that they're going to be as good as what you drafted them for. You know what I mean? Like, there's these things called busts. And I know you guys know of them because it happens quite often in the NFL. In fact, there's a lot more busts than there are success stories. So, like, these organizations just need to, get it together. And I get it. Their GM has faced some heat. Things haven't been so great since, Andrew Luck retired. The Colts have definitely had issues at quarterback. It's been a carousel of quarterbacks since Andrew Luck, and I understand they want to try to get somebody in there that's going to be more consistent over the years and, be a focal point for years to come, but I don't see why they can't just, extend Joe Flacco and make Joe Flacco that person for them for the next few years as long as he's got it. Like, I don't know why it's got to be Anthony Richardson. He's got potential, but the kid's way too inconsistent. And until the kid can become more become more consistent in the pocket and can become a consistent and accurate quarterback, I see Joe Flacco as being the one that needs to start for the Colts. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I don't understand why these GMs want to put all this pressure on all these young bucks going into the league. I think the Patriots did a really good job of at least like benching Drake May for the beginning. I know he's going to be starting this week. This is going to be a big week for Drake May, as this is his first week starting in the NFL, but I thought it was a really good idea for the Patriots to, ease Drake May into the process and not just push him out there immediately to start the season because, some of these quarterbacks, they require more time. Anthony Richardson's one of them. I think he can still succeed in the NFL. He just needs more time. He's not one of those rookies you can just throw out there day one and he's just going to succeed. No, he needs to be able to learn how to read defenses better. He needs to be able to get his accuracy intact here, and, he just needs some time to sit behind a veteran and, figure out how to read these defenses better. I think that once he has a better grasp of reading these defenses, it could help improve his accuracy dramatically. He'll probably take much more easier throws if he knows what's coming from the defenses, and I hope going forward that's what you aspire to as a quarterback. You hope that you're able to get there and where you're able to make these good decision making for your team and put your team in a chance to win. But that comes with more experience than just it coming to you naturally when it comes to Anthony Richardson. To be able to make these short passes and be able to read these defenses, it comes with experience being in the league. So, and we gotta remember too, Anthony Richardson's still very young. This is technically like basically his rookie year. He didn't play like it all last year, his rookie year, so this is kind of more his rookie year getting into it. But even so, the way the NFL is, they call it not for long for a reason. These players, they don't get a long time to get accumulated to the NFL. So if it's taken all this time while you're a starter, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities to get back in there and be a starter again. So I feel like Anthony Richardson, I think if the Colts were smart, they would bench Anthony Richardson right now, let him learn under Joe Flacco for the rest of the year, and then try again next year. See, what they got in Anthony Richardson, and, see what he's been able to learn this offseason. This is a crucial year for Anthony Richardson. He needs to really soak in this experience, make sure that, when he is not able to be on the field and have to watch Joe Flacco, that he's getting everything he can from Joe Flacco, because, he's got to just make better decisions when he's out there on the field. Once he's able to make the better decisions as a quarterback, he might be able to be more relied upon, and we could see him being the future for the Colts. But until I see that, until I start seeing more consistency from Anthony Richardson, I think Joe Flacco needs to be the starter. He should be the starter going forward right now, and yeah. We'll see what the Colts end up doing. I think the Colts are going to make the bad decision and end up going with Anthony Richardson, even though I don't think he's fully ready. We'll see how it turns out. Maybe Anthony Richardson's able to pull it out the rest of the season. Maybe he starts figuring things out and, looks a lot better. But personally, I don't see that happening. But we'll see. That's what's crazy about the NFL. All this stuff can change within like 2 or 3 weeks. Could be completely different storylines. You never know. So we'll see. We'll see how the Colts are able to bounce back from all the chaos to start the season. But yeah, that's everything I got for my biggest takeaways from last week. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Greatly appreciate hearing all you guys' thoughts. And with that, let's get to my Week 6 predictions. So to get into my predictions for this week, let's get into the matchup for tonight. We have the San Francisco 49ers coming in to take on the Seattle Seahawks at home. It'll be tonight. Going to be an interesting matchup. I feel like the 49ers, they've had some great games here, and they've had some that's been stolen from them here. These last couple matchups that they've had, being against like the Rams and last week against the Cardinals, had it just stolen from them. They lost their kicker early, Jake Moody. Ended up losing that game. A big portion of it is probably due to not having a kicker, and on top of that, like it felt like the offense was kind of starting to struggle to move the ball towards the end of the game. So we'll see if 49ers are able to pick up from there, try to overcome those issues that they had against the Cardinals. And with the Seattle Seahawks, same with them. They had a lot of issues against the Giants last week. Should have been an easy win for them at home. Ended up not being that way, especially with Malik Neighbors out. You would have thought for sure the Seahawks would have been able to roll over the Giants, but that was not the case. The Giants held onto the ball for so long. They dominated them on offense, and it blew my mind how well Daniel Jones played this game. So when looking at the 49ers versus the Seahawks here, it's going to be a get-right game for both teams, but of course only one team's going to be able to get right. Personally, I think, with my prediction, I think the 49ers are going to end up winning this. Seahawks it looks like they have some issues on defense that it's going to take a few weeks to iron out or figure out, I feel like. So the 49ers are just getting healthy. They got Debo back. They got George Kittle much more healthy here, and as long as Brock Purdy can be a little bit more accurate this game, make some better decisions this game, I think the 49ers will be in the firm driver's seat to win. So I think it'll be like a 10-point type game for 49ers to win. So I think it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of, let's go 27-17 for the 49ers. That's my final score prediction. 49ers 27, Seattle Seahawks 17. And we'll see how that goes. Curious to see how the run game goes as well. Jordan Mason and Kenneth Walker, both great running backs. See how they're able to do. And with that, we'll get into our second matchup prediction, which would be the Cleveland Browns coming in to take on the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Philadelphia Eagles coming off that bye week. Of course, they had a very tough matchup prior to that. Ended up, lots of question marks for the Eagles right now with their defense right now. Defense is not looking good whatsoever, and Browns not looking great either. There's lots of course, what we just talked about with, change of quarterback. There needs to be a change of quarterback. Probably not going to happen for the Browns. They're going to end up sticking with Deshaun Watson this whole game. So this should be key for the Eagles to get things right on defense. They've been known to have zero pass rush. They saw when they went against Tampa Bay, there was zero pass rush against Baker Mayfield. So this is the time where the Eagles can prove that they have somewhat of a pass rush and get to Deshaun Watson. Now, if the Eagles leave this game with 0 sacks, that tells me right there that some big change needs to happen on defense. If we somehow end up losing to the Browns, that tells me right there big changes need to happen for the Eagles defense moving forward. It will not be good if the Eagles somehow lose against the Browns this weekend. Eagles should be able to roll over them, but like I said, with all the defensive struggles we've been having, it's hard to put any sort of guarantees on these games right now with the Eagles defense. So I'm going to predict that the Eagles win by 2 scores. It should be by 14 plus. Personally, I think it should be 28-14. That's what I'm guessing. Eagles 28, Browns 14. We should be beating them by 2 scores plus. It's not going to be that. It's probably going to be a 1-score game. But going by what it should be, that's what my prediction is going to be. Eagles 28, Browns 14. Let's go Birds. Let's get it going this week. Let's actually get our defense. get some good plays by our defense this week. Be great to see some sacks. All right, and going from there, the third matchup that I want to cover is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in to take on the New Orleans Saints. Now, this is a very interesting matchup to me, mostly because Derek Carr's hurt. He's got an oblique injury from last week. So, with that being said, they're going to go ahead and start their young stud, the rookie Spencer Rattler. Going to be very interesting to see Rattler come in. He had some ups and downs in his college career. Very interested to see how Spencer comes in and does. This was a person that I thought that the Raiders probably should have taken, because the Raiders definitely needed a quarterback this draft cycle, where the Saints kind of didn't need one, and now it's kind of benefiting the Saints. Now that Derek Carr is hurt, they got a young guy that they can put in there, and it gives their fan base hope. Saints are really excited to see what they got in this guy. He might be the future of the franchise, and with that, just what's going on with the Saints is a big example of why I feel like it's important for these teams that have these fringe quarterbacks that are starting for them that might or might not be their answer going forward. This is why they need to draft a quarterback. I know it could end up causing controversy somewhere down the line, but if you don't have that piece that gives your fan base some sort of hope, gives them we could win, we have the chance to win. If you don't give them that, it makes it so much harder as a fan to just bear that for the season and not be complaining constantly about how bad your team is. So it makes sense that teams take these chances on these young quarterbacks and bring them in and give them the opportunity, see what they can do out there. So very excited to see Spencer Rattler get out there. Now, going with my prediction, I don't think that Spencer Rattler is going to come out here and throw for 500 yards and put the Bucs defense in a crazy position like they were last week against the Falcons. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be a Kirk Cochain's situation. But I do think Spencer Rattler can come in and succeed. With the way the Saints have been playing, I know that these last few matches haven't been great, but their first 2 games came out just humming, just scoring on every offensive opportunity that they had with Derek Carr the first 2 games. I think they can get back to that a little bit here with Spencer Rattler. We'll see what he's able to do. Maybe get Chris Olave a little bit more involved in the games. There's been a lot of talk about Chris Olave not being fully in sync with Derek Carr, so maybe he'll be a little bit more in sync. Maybe Olave will be more in sync with Spencer Rattler instead. So curious to see how that all turns out. It's going to be a great matchup. I think the Bucs will probably come out and keep humming, even though they lost in overtime to the Falcons last week. I think this will be a nice get-right game for them. Baker's been playing phenomenally. As long as the offensive line's able to keep the pressure off of him, I think he'll be just fine. He'll be throwing to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin all day. And yeah, I think the Bucs will be just fine. When my score prediction, probably going to say it'll probably be close because I think the Saints have a good defense, and Spencer might be able to get some big plays here. There's not a lot of film on him, so I think that's going to be really, really beneficial for him going out here. And them playing in New Orleans is going to be a big positive for Spencer as well. So I think that's going to make it a little bit closer. We'll make it like a 3-point game because it's a rivalry type game. So I'm going to say 24-21 Buccaneers. Buccaneers will win 24-21. Yeah, and with that's my third big matchup. And our score prediction for the third big matchup for this week. And for this week coming up, let's get into the fourth big matchup, that being the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Denver Broncos at home. So this is also a very interesting matchup to me, mostly because I'm curious to see, how is Justin Herbert going to be looking coming off of his bye with his injury to his leg. He's had his leg injury that kind of made it a little bit more difficult for him to pass last time we saw him because they were on a bye the week prior. He didn't play too well. Granted, the Chargers haven't been passing a lot this season. They've been a much more like run heavy team since Jim Harbaugh has become the head coach. They've been a much more like run first. So whether it be Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins in the backfield, they tend to lean on them a lot more than Justin Herbert's arm, which interesting tactic, especially given the fact that Justin Herbert's probably one of the best passers in the NFL. So very interesting to see the Chargers take this route of let's be more of a running team, but understandable with the way the wide receiver market is right now. It's very difficult to get a top tier wide receiver without having pay out the butt to keep them on your team. I can see where it could be hard to assemble a team like that where you want to keep maybe some of your money more in your offensive line and your defense. So interesting build right now for the Chargers. It seems to be working so far for them. They are currently 2-2 right now, coming out of the bye. So I think they could easily get a win here against the Denver Broncos. They're going into Denver to take them on. Denver has had some interesting situations this year. They've been up and down all over the place. There's times where I feel like Bo Nix does not belong in the NFL, and then there's other times where I'm like, maybe he's got a shot. But overall, I don't really feel that Bo Nix is of NFL caliber right now. I mean, he's starting right out the gate as a rookie. Granted, the guy's a lot older. You got a lot more older rookies coming into the NFL because of the issues with COVID in the past. So a lot of these players are coming in a lot older. So you would think that them being a little bit more mature, that they would, I don't know, maybe be able to get a grip of the offense or get a grip of the NFL play style a little bit quicker than, say, a younger rookie. But I feel like that's actually the opposite per se, saying that it's more difficult for these quarterbacks that are older to come in and start succeeding right off the bat, mostly because I'd say they get more content, they get more used to the college play style. They've been playing that for so many years, and now that you're coming into the NFL, it's like a completely different play style. It might be a lot more harder to adjust as you get older, I think. So it's better to get in there when you're younger than as you get older, in my opinion. But seeing how this is all boiling down for the Denver Broncos right now, I think that even with all the playtime that we've seen from Bo Nix this year, I think it's clear that the Denver Broncos are not anywhere near a team that's capable of competing in the postseason. They do have a great defense. Their defense does amazing to keep their teams in the game, but Bo Nix is just not of that pro caliber level yet of being able to make great reads and move the ball down the field efficiently for the Denver Broncos. There's just way too many games right now where Bo Nix is just not getting the proper reads. They got some 3-and-out issues, and you can see with the Denver Broncos, just looking at the stats from the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix barely crosses 100 yards passing some of these games. Some games he doesn't even have over 100 yards passing. It blows your mind. The few weeks back against the Jets, Bo Nix had 63 yards passing, and Cortland Sutton had all of them, had all 60 yards of those receiving. It was crazy how that game ended up going. And then Denver ended up winning that game, mostly on the backs of their defense, but I don't see that being feasible all year. If Bo Nix isn't able to start turning things around and being more efficient as a passer, it's going to catch up with this Denver team, and they're probably not going to make it far. They probably won't make it into the postseason the way that things are going, but time will tell. We'll see if this team's able to improve as time goes on, and curious to see how it goes. But as far as predictions go, I'm predicting that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to end up coming out with a win against the Broncos this week. I'm going to say that the Chargers are going to win. I think it's going to be close because I think both have good defenses and both offenses aren't super efficient, so it'll be lower scoring. I'm going to say, why not make it funky? We'll make the Chargers win 18-12. That's what it's going to be. Some weird numbers here. So I don't know if that's scoregami or not. We'll find out. Scoregami is essentially a score that's never taken place before in the NFL. It's always cool to keep up with that, seeing if there's a brand new scoring outcome that's never taken place before. Always fun to keep up with that. But anyways, that's my score prediction. We're going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers 18 and the Denver Broncos 12. And with that, we'll get into our final matchup to cover here. That's going to be the Monday night game where we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets at home. Now, we've been talking about the Jets here. Robert Saleh just got fired. Crazy situation. Jets will be at home, but with all the turmoil going on right now, I cannot see this Jets team winning right now. Way too much turnover, way too much change going on in a week's time. I don't think there's going to be enough time for this Jets team to get things figured out and get things back on track. So I think the Buffalo Bills are more in for a win. They've been through two back-to-back kind of beatings right now for them. They got blown out by the Ravens 2 weeks ago, and then this past week they were getting blown out by the Texans until they finally came back. Ended up still losing the game. Ended up being a close game, but yeah, the Bills have had some issues here these last two games getting started, getting their game going, just getting off the ground running here. They're not doing too well starting these games. So that's something that the Buffalo Bills definitely need to work on here this week. They need to figure out how they're going to come out and probably score on their opening drive. They score on their opening drive, I think that the Bills will be fine. But if they're not able to get out of this slump of not being able to score real quickly, then they could put them in a tough situation against the Jets here. So I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. Both teams have their struggles. Both of them are having some issues this year. They are having a bunch of adversity that they got to overcome, and I'm going to be curious to see which teams are able to overcome that adversity. Given the history, I think Bills will be able to overcome it much better than the Jets, but that time will tell. Different circumstances each year, so see how it works out. I'm definitely curious to see how this game turns out. So when it comes to predictions, I'm going to say, of course, Buffalo Bills are probably going to win this pretty easily. This is going to be a statement game for them. I think they're going to win, I'd say, pretty easily here. I'm going to say 35-24. How's that? I think that's a pretty good scoring outcome. So, yeah. I say Bills will have 35 and the Jets will have 24. Even though the Jets have a pretty good defense, I think Josh Allen, like I said, he's going to get things going this week. He has a lot to prove here. Show that the Bills are contenders here, and I think it's going to be a big week for Josh Allen. So, yeah, and with that, that's everything I got for this week, guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that fun stuff down below. Greatly appreciate it, guys. But yeah, that's everything I got for this week. And we'll be back again next week. Make sure that we cover everything that happened in Week 6 of the NFL. See if there's any more crazy things going on. Hopefully no more coaches get fired this past week. You never know. Just happened. Jets just left London. They fired Robert Saleh. We got another London game here where Jags are going over to play in London, and Doug Peterson has not been looking too great. So will Doug Peterson come out of their game in London and still have his job? Time will tell. We'll find out next week, and we'll be sure to cover it here, guys. So yeah, again, thank you all for tuning in. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff again. And yeah, this is Honest Football Talk. This is Thomas Swellen, and I'm signing out, guys. Take care. Peace.